Hello, guys, welcome back now. And another round, another African team unnecessarily increasing the aura of another team from a different continent. The round of 16 is over now, so let's jump into it. Let's uncover all the action together. Again, there were 8 games, so I'll try to keep my analysis of like all the 8 matches to 2 minutes or under, so that I can talk more about like the important stuff that actually happened throughout this round. Yeah. And I mean, okay, so this wasn't the first game, but I feel like we have to start with Egypt versus Argentina, right? And I don't know. First of all, I think that would have been a real big shame if we watch Neymar, Ronaldo, and Messi go home on back-to-back days. Um, I think both Neymar and Ronaldo did play like considerably harder opponents, but that wouldn't change the fact that was no way for Messi to go out to the missed penalty and all that, right? It was a But the thing is that I think when they got the first goal back, everybody was expecting them to kind of go on and grab the game by the scruff of the neck and win. Of course, Messi got the goal. Egypt scored a goal and had it ruled out, and then went ahead and scored another goal and thought that was the end. But you have to talk about, I think, the hydration break, how it served as a huge turning point for Argentina to kind of restructure themselves and tactically reinvent themselves for their last quarter of the game. I think that's also what really helped England. For Belgium, can I say that it helped them? I don't know. I think that was just a complete technical collapse. And of course, when Messi got the second goal, Egypt went ahead trying to nick one. I will say that Omar Marmoush was very suspect in the fact that he had a ball to play through to. I don't know who it was, but he delayed too long, and that left Egypt opened. There were 2 penalty appeals for Argentina, for Egypt, right? When Argentina were playing, and Argentina went on to score, none of it was given. Do I think that that was fraudulent? You can't really say anything is fraudulent in football. I think this was questionable refereeing at best. But if you watch like the video of the goal, it doesn't look like a foul. But when you watch the video of Lisandro Martinez's, incident that got chopped off, you'd also say that it wasn't a foul. So I think, honestly speaking, I believe if the ball was outside the box, they would have asked the referee to go and check it out. But I think knowing that it was inside, knowing how little was left in the game, they simply decided to not let the match hinge on a pendulum moment like that, right? Which is obviously really annoying, because at least I think if they had reviewed it and the referee said that there's nothing, right? Because it's virtually the same thing of Alvarez does win the ball, it's a 50-50. Salah isn't in control of it, but neither is Alvarez, and Alvarez does impede Salah's movement. But overall, I think that this comeback was even was it's more about helping those who help themselves. I'm a believer in football isn't a fair game, and you get things handed to you, and once you get those things handed to you, you have to make good use of them. I feel like with Argentina, they make good use of everything across the 90 minutes. Every decision that they get in their favor always comes back to help them to win. I think Egypt had a lot go against them in this game. I will not lie. I think Argentina were really fortunate, but at the end of the day, right, the game hinged on the 2 changes to Egypt's wingers. When Trezeguet had to come on and then Mamouche came on, I think they didn't have the same spark, selflessness, or defensive ability as the other 2 guys had, Zico and Hassan, I believe it was. Right, and I think that's where Egypt lost the game. They can complain about the referee all they want, but it's not going to change the. I mean, if they were America, it could have changed the fact that, like, maybe they could have appealed the decision or something. But I don't think that that's the case. That can be the case now. So move on from this game, right? We shouldn't spend too much time talking about one game. And we have on the other side of this bracket. So on this side, Egypt's this team is here, and England. I I actually had a video set aside for Brazil and Norway, right? Brazil and Norway, England and Mexico, and I'll just keep my analysis brief on that game. Odegaard should just leave Arsenal because if this is what he's capable of doing, and it means that Mikel Arteta has been deploying him in the wrong position, because you can't tell me that he's playing better with Sandebej and Berg off Bodo Glimt in midfield than Lewis Kelly, Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi. Like, you can't tell me that he has all these players and he functions better with those guys when they actually have relatively similar profiles. I think he should leave and go and play this majestic football that he was playing for Norway elsewhere, right? And you have the game against England. I think that the England-Mexico game was incredible, and everybody who Thomas Tuchel had chosen instead of came on and improved the points today, apart from Joao Konsa, which will leave us with some questions. But honestly, I did want England to lose, but after Joao Konsa got the red card, I was not interested in them losing at all, because I was really worried for the boy, to be honest. As he's Ghanaian, right? It's like, okay, well, he's of Ghanaian descent. That's the terminology that he used. And I felt like if that red card basically cost England a game, would have meant that he had to close down all of his social media accounts. He doesn't play in England anyway, so his effects would have been less severe than like the likes of Beckham and Rashford and Saka. But I wasn't really interested in seeing another black man suffer because of this England thing, right? But anyway, we move on to that. And again, let me just briefly visit the Norway game. I think it was also very beautiful that Neymar's last touch as a Brazilian player was a goal, and I think it was really unfortunate how good Norway were to be able to keep them out. But I think it shows in the end that Brazil are not quite there yet. I think that this is actually like one of their better performances in the World Cup since 2014, I believe. 2018, I think they got knocked out by Belgium. Neymar carried, but nothing. 2022, they got carried through the round of 16. I think this time, if they had made it through, they would have stood a real chance of going to the semi-final. Again, my thing about the quarterfinals is that it's very scammable from here. If you get one easy opponent, you're into the semi-finals. That's podium finish, and you can scam a semi-final win. Once you scam that semi-final win, you're in the final. It's a one-off game. Millions of fans at home are cheering you on. You can go to penalties and win, right? I mean, it's not as straightforward as this, but that's the beauty of one-touch knockout games, right? Anything can happen. If you're not somebody like Beckham like this, right? His wife decided to tell him that she was expecting before the game, and I think it threw him off a little in a I'm fired up kind of way, and he ended up getting a red card. Those kind of things over a league, they get cancelled out, right? Like, if you are better, you are better. But with a knockout game, these moments have times 10 of the impact that they would have had on the regular season. And so, we have to really look at that. So the semi-finals on the other side are Switzerland, Argentina, and Norway, England, right? And I feel as though the Switzerland, who won their game by penalty shootout, banishing the goals from their past, they should just allow Argentina to go to the semi-finals, because I have zero faith in Switzerland. They are probably asking me why. We have seen Cape Verde give them a tough time. We've seen Egypt give them a tough time. Why do you think that Cape Verde? Why do I think that Switzerland will not be able to lay a glove on Argentina? And I feel as though when you look at Cape Verde, you look at Egypt, these are forward-thinking teams with weapons who can hurt you. Now, Manzambi could be back for the next game against Argentina, but in all honesty, I don't think Switzerland as a whole have the defensive capabilities and the wherewithal, especially after playing 120 minutes, to beat, what are these guys called? To be able to beat Argentina, to be honest, because it's been in the half moments that Argentina have won the game. You think of Lisandro Martinez's goal from the corners. People say that there was a foul in that, and fair, but again, you just have to put the ball in the net and see what's happened. So you look at moments like that where it's hinged on a moment, and you look at how many lapses of concentration Switzerland had today, right? But they are fighting for a semi-final place. I don't think competitively Switzerland have ever won anything either. I could be wrong. And so they will also be fired up. They will definitely have their concentration. I think you should expect a solid game plan that will stress Argentina out a little bit, but they will coast through. And I think that this time they will coast through without any drama. Right? But we move to the other side of the brackets now, and that's where the really interesting stuff are. Morocco beat Canada 3-0, and there wasn't really much to say about this game. Except I think that just the Jesse March crash out was valid, because I think we've all played football and we've all watched football in our times as football fans and as football players, right? And we've all seen our team be better by far for 45 minutes, and a single moment of quality from the opposition undoes all our hard work immediately, right? And you're thinking to yourself that okay, at least you played boot to boot with them, let's go and get the second one, and you're just not able to. And 2 counter-attack goals from Morocco means that the game ends 3-0. I actually think Canada played really well, and I think that they have a lot to look forward to in the future. I think that with Jesse March at the helm, they will just continue to get better. This was their first knockout win. I think this was their first knockout win ever, right? And again, this was an opponent that was simply too much for them, and it sets up a beautiful game with France from Morocco. And let me just say that I really wanted Morocco to win. I had a feeling that they could have actually won this World Cup, but I think looking at the France Argentina dynamic, the revenge match. There are 2 revenge matches, right? England, Spain, France, Argentina. I think if we look at those and you look at the left side of the bracket, it's only France that can stop Argentina, because you need somebody who is being led by pure hatred in this game. And Paraguay have been terrible this tournament in terms of like their conduct. But I kind of understand, because there's not really much that they can do against an opponent that is leaps and bounds better. I just think that they took it way too far, and it was way too petty and way too niggly and everything else, right? And of course, their senator came out to say something that was like terrible, absolutely abhorrent. And you come now. We have set up this epic quarterfinal against Morocco, and I really hope that Morocco stand their ground, but I don't think that they will win. Like I just have the feeling that Mbappe and France are going to be led by the fact that they know now that Argentina will be in the final, not because of anything. Like sometimes, like you can just see it. Like you can just see when another team is going to be in the final ahead of you, right? And you know that your path is in your hands. Like the fact that France have been favorites to win this tournament, right, since the thing began. Like on Kalshi, they were predicted to once this tournament started. I think the French odds were at 14%, right? And even at this quarterfinal stage, right, England have now jumped above that 12%. So it means that England are now as likely to win the tournament now in the quarterfinals on the easier side of the bracket than France were than France were at the beginning of the tournament, when they had round of 32, round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, group stages still to play. So that should tell you the strength of the French team. And very testament to the strength of the French team is that they always find a way without usually any help. They carve their own openings, they fight, and they manage to get through. And who's on the other side of that? We have Morocco, we have Spain, and Spain and Belgium. Belgium USA was awful. Like, I can't believe I stayed up to watch that game. There was absolutely nothing about that game apart from pure Belgian hatred for the fact that like they gave Balogun, they rescinded his red card, and I have a feeling that that's actually what pumped Belgium up more to play against the United States, because they felt like they'd been aggrieved. A country like Belgium feeling aggrieved, but we won't talk about that. They said politics has no place in football and all that, but so they swatted the United States aside. I think that was a really poor performance. I don't think that they showed enough to get back into the game. They let Belgium back into the game too easily, almost immediately after equalizing, and then you have the what's it called? Now you have the game of the round in terms of like names, right? And you had Lamine Yamal versus Cristiano Ronaldo. And for me, that game hinged so much on when Nuno Mendes went off, right? Because he was integral to both their offense and defense in the way that he was handling Lamine Yamal. Of course, he did have João Felix's help, but the overlaps were always going to be a big part of how Portugal were going to go through. And they couldn't go through in the end. Nuno Mendes hit the bar in the first half. He had several half chances, but they didn't create anything of note, right, in the first half. They were a little too content with going to extra time. And in the end, there was a good piece of play, line-breaking passes and movements from Spain that had Portugal undone. And with 5 minutes left, it's always a sucker blow to concede in like the 91st minutes of 6 minutes, right? You have almost no time to respond. And they actually did almost respond, but this was the end for Cristiano Ronaldo, Portugal, Bruno Fernandes. I don't think they should be proud of themselves, to be honest. I think they should be very disappointed, all of them, from João Neves to Diogo Costa to everybody. I think that the number of minutes the key Portugal players played might have had an effect on their season, because Vitinha, João Neves, Mendes, right? Those are your best players, right? Those are the people who a lot of stuff depends on them, and they looked leggy, especially Mendes this tournament, especially Vitinha as well. He didn't look like himself throughout a lot of these games. You could chalk that down to the lights were too bright for him. But I think that fatigue was a big part of it, And with the appointment of Jorge Jesus seeming imminent, Ronaldo is not going to retire from the national team anytime soon. I think they are going to convince him to try and attack one more Euros, and then they will look to use that as a send-off for him. And by that time he'll be 43. I don't know if that's the best decision in the world, but yeah, I think Lamine Yamal has to up his game. He has to up his game by far, because this is not the guy that we're so excited to see coming into this tournament, right? And if he has to be in the media and start talking a whole lot of rubbish again to get his performances up, he better start talking some rubbish, because he's been underwhelming in every single game they've played so far. His biggest impact in this game was the fact that Nuno Mendes got injured off of his dribble into the box, and I feel like you should leave those kind of, I did this kind of stats for like Dan James and the rest. Those are the people who they are supposed to tear hamstrings and be happy. But for you are supposed to be winning games. You're supposed to be front and center of everything that your country is doing. And they have been very fortunate, in my opinion, to get a weakened Belgium team who they should be able to dispatch. But Rudy Garcia is proving his tactical nose, in my opinion. And these kind of things make you wonder, like, where were you when Belgium had their golden generation? Jorge Jesus is going to come in. He's going to make this midfield three work perfectly. And we're all going to say, so where was he all this time? I can almost bet you that like the next World Cup, Portugal are going to be solid again, right? And everybody's going to say that, oh, why didn't you do it? It's Roberto Martinez. But anyway, same thing with Belgium. It was Roberto Martinez. Huge waste of talent and potential, right? So I think that's it, right? In the quarterfinals, right, we have several interesting matchups, and I want to point you guys to something that I did mention in one of my TikTok videos, that the every single World Cup since 1970 has had a Ballon d'Or, has had a top 10 Ballon d'Or nominee. So we were almost certain that one of England, France, Belgium, one of England, France, Spain, Morocco, or Portugal were going to be in the finals, right? And obviously Portugal are out, but look at these four teams still left. They all still have a really good chance of making it to the final. But let me know in the comments what you guys would like for a final clash. I think that it's leaning heavily towards the revenge of 2022 now with Mbappe versus Messi again. But I don't think that we should rule out England just yet, or Norway. I think Norway are in a very good position to scam England and beat them, because when I watch the way Haaland is moving at this World Cup, I don't think that there's a single England centre back who can match up to him in terms of his strength and his pace. And that was what undid Brazil in the end, actually. The fact that every long ball that was played up to Haaland, he bashed Gabriel, and Marquinhos would have to try and cover, but he would leave so much spacing behind, and it was just a nightmare for them defensively. I'm very curious to see what they do in that game. I think England should have too much quality for Norway though, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Norway pull off an upset. Again, this is the last 8, so you can easily scam your way to the cup now more than ever. And it's very disappointing that we have only one African team left, and the African team, their sports minister just came out to say that they represent Morocco and not Africa. So as a lot of people will say, we may be hungry, but we can manage our hunger when it comes to supporting Morocco. So I don't know. I want them to win, but I think in my heart I know that it will be extremely difficult for them to win, especially with again how Mbappe is moving. So we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments if you guys think that like there's corruption afoot, or if you think that Egypt are just crying plenty. But yeah, I'm just happy that we are gonna have a very incredible next 12 days at the World Cup, to be honest. Also, another thing about the quarterfinals is that this is probably the worst time to go out, because even though you get like the best part of 30 million, you won't get a podium finish. And I feel like for the players, it's so nice to at least get a medal for your achievements. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about everything. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all 44 of you who have been watching the videos, and we'll see you guys after the quarterfinals, or who knows, perhaps I'll be doing update videos per day.